Okay, we're going to look at problem number 6, and if you guys had a simplified version of this answer, that's fine. We're going to focus on part B because a lot of people had questions on that. So when we read the problem, it says during a 9-hour snowstorm, it snows at a rate of 1 inch per hour for the first 2 hours. So 1 inch per hour would mean 1 times x, but this is only for the first 2 hours. You can also see that on the graph. It starts at 0 snowfall, but 1 inch per hour means after 1 hour, I have 1 inch, after 2 hours, 2 inches. So since it does this for the first 2 hours, you see the equation here of 1x and the limitations from 0 to time 2 because we're measuring the time in hours. Then it says at a rate of 2 inches per hour for the next 6 hours. So the next 6 hours is going to be this span of time, and it's going to rise 2 inches for every 1 hour it goes over. Okay, so first of all, that gives us a slope of 2. Okay, so you have a couple of ways that you guys can do this. The way that it's written here, it's saying our slope is 2, but I don't just want to write an x there because this is only true for hours after the 2-hour mark. So that's why you guys see in her equation the x minus 2. She's making sure to subtract off 2 hours so that we're not including those original ones in this calculation since they were at a different slope. That's helping it start after 2 hours. Okay. And so the plus 2 is the amount from the original snowfall. So see when that first rate ended, it was at 2. So this is like mx plus b, but only if we consider b our starting point now for this. And our slope is adjusted because we're not going to multiply everything by x. It's 2 hours after. So again, this is to not include the first 2 hours. And this plus 2, since this is calculating the total snowfall, is the snowfall from the first piece. If that makes sense. If you did it from the equation, you might have just used y equals mx plus b and set up the parameters, that's fine. But that's where those numbers are coming from. And then you see that the parameters here are from 2 to 8 because that includes just those 6 hours. The next branch said that it's 1 inch per hour, so I'm back to a slope of 1. But again, I don't want to include all the hours that have already been talked about in the problem. So my x is going to have a minus 8 here to only include the hours after the 8th hour in this calculation. But if I'm only going to include the hours in this calculation, I'm just adding up the inches that have happened so far. I need to add on to that the previous inches. Okay, so the previous inches would be what I maxed out at after the second branch, which would be 14. So again, this is here to not include the first 2 branches, which is the previous 8 hours. And this is here to account for the snowfall that already exists from the first and the second piece of this function. So hopefully that explains where we got these from. And then you see the restrictions here go from 8 to 9. It didn't say it continued forever. It said in the final hour. So we have a stopping point at 9 here. So hopefully that gives you guys some idea of where these equations came from. And if you guys simplified them and wrote them in a different way, if they are equivalent, then that's fine. You can check if they are equivalent by distributing and adding in that 14 and seeing if you get something equivalent to the format that you have. So hopefully that helps a little bit with number 6 part B on this assignment.